Right here, please. Look. She's gonna screw you with.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to affirm the testimony which you give this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll have you have a seat there. And make sure that you are speaking into the microphone. Speak up, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
State your name for the record.
Kaya Lambert.
And can you spell your name?
KHIALAMBERT.
And how old are you, Kai?
16,
And what grade are you going into?
11.
And do you have a favorite subject?
Language arts.
And how do you know Patricia Lambert?
That's my mom.
Now, was there a time when Millie Place and Laila Daniel lived with you and your family before they went to live with the Rosenbaums?
Yes, ma'am.
And during that time, did you help care for Millie and Layla?
Yes, ma'am.
And what kinds of things did you do to help care for Millie and Layla?
Feed them, bathe them, play with them, change diapers, stuff like that.
Now, what kind of child was Millie prior to Layla's death? Well, let me ask you this. What kind of child was Millie when she was living with you?
Oh, she was personality-wise, very playful.
And what about Layla? What was she like?
The same thing, extremely playful.
And you indicated that you helped bathe the children.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever see any white scar on Layla below her belly button?
No, ma'am.
Any scars at all on Layla's body?
No, ma'am.
Now, was there a time when Millie and Layla began having visits with the Rosenbaums?
Yes, ma'am.
And after Millie and Layla would come back to your house from visits with the Rosenbaums, did you observe any bruises?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you see?
I started seeing bruises on her legs and back, just small stuff, but didn't really think anything of it at first.
And when you say you saw bruises on the legs, whose legs are you talking about?
Millie's legs.
And when you say you saw a bruise on the back, whose back were you talking about?
Layla's back.
Now, did Millie come to live with you after Layla's death?
Yes, ma'am.
How old were you at the time that Millie came back to live with you?
I can't really remember.
What's your date of birth?
December 27, 2002.
And did Millie come back to live with you in November of 2015? Does that sound about right?
Yes, ma'am.
So were you...
Maybe 11 or 12.
And when Millie came to live with you, did she tell you anything about her experiences while living with the Rosenbaums?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, when she, as soon as she came to the door, that night she came back with us, she did.
And what did she say that night that she came in?
Nothing, it wasn't even a hi or hello at first. The first thing she said was, Kaya, Miss Jennifer killed Layla. And at first I was just confused because that's not something I would expect her to say.
And did she tell you anything else at that point?
No, ma'am, not that night, but as she stayed with us, it was a couple of other things, she would start saying what went on in the house without even us having to ask.
And what did she say what went on in the house?
Well, one of the main things she would say was how Miss Jennifer dragged Layla down the steps.
Did she tell you how Miss Jennifer dragged Layla down the steps?
No, I can't really remember. She probably did, but I can't remember.
And did she tell you anything else about living with the Rosenbaums?
I can't really remember.
Now, when Millie first came back to live with you after Layla's death, did you see any bruising on her body?
I can't.
We're looking at, let me ask you this. On November 24th, 2015, did you provide a written statement to Detective Ross?
I did.
And then looking at your November 24th, 2015 statement, help you in remembering whether you saw any bruises?
Yes, ma'am.
May I approach the witness here?
You may.
I'm going to show you what I've marked as it's Exhibit 386. Do you recognize this?
Yes, ma'am.
And how do you recognize it?
That was a statement that I wrote.
And was that statement written 4 years ago?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'll have you have a chance to review it, and then once you're done reviewing it, I'll look up and I'll ask you the question again. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So did you ever see any bruises on Millie when she came back from the Rosenbaums?
I did.
And what did you see?
Bruises
And where on her body?
on her hip.
And how did you come to see those bruises?
I want to say when she was being changed.
And what did she say about those bruises?
She basically said that she was being hit, but if anybody asked, not to say anything about it.
Just to clarify, who was not supposed to say anything about it if asked?
She wasn't supposed to say anything.
So she was told not to say anything about the injuries?
Yes, ma'am.
And who told her that?
Miss Jennifer.
And was she told to say anything specific about the injuries that asked, according to Ms. Jennifer? Would you like to look at your statement?
If anybody asked about it, she was just to say that she fell down.
And was that what Millie told you Ms. Jennifer told her to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, at some point in December of 2015, did the detectives come back over to your home?
Yes, ma'am.
And did they interview Millie?
Yes, they did.
And were you present for that interview?
Yes, ma'am.
At any time before, during the interview, did you tell Millie what to say?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever sit by Millie while she was talking to the detectives?
I did.
And how come?
I was the only one in the house that she was actually comfortable with. Like, when she came out of the home, I was the one she was actually communicating with. And so it was hard for her to, like, communicate with two strangers that she had no idea who they were. So when I sat next to her, that's when she, kind of started telling them what happened.
And at any point, did you tell her, remember what you told me?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in general, how did the topic of Layla's death and Millie's injuries come up in the home?
Mostly, she would just talk about it. And then other conversations would come up when I was changing her and I asked her where she got the bruises from.
And when you're talking about when you changed her and she got the bruises from, was that after Layla's death?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you know Jennifer and Joseph Rosenbaum?
No, ma'am.
That's all the questions I have.
Ms. Andrews, plus.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Corinne Mall. I just have a couple of questions for you. If you can't hear me or I'm not clear, please let me know.
Okay.
Okay? You're 16 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you, back in 2015, you were 11 or 12?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have testified today that you saw, before the death of Layla, you saw Millie, you saw bruises on Millie's back.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you take pictures of that?
No, ma'am.
Did you
I
never
didn't.
take pictures of that?
I'm pretty sure the pictures were taken at the defects office.
Okay, and were the pictures taken at the defects office of her eye and her arm?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure. But as best you know, you haven't seen any pictures of bruises on Millie's back, have you?
I haven't seen any pictures, but I've seen it with my own eyes.
And you gave a statement, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
The detective came and asked you to tell you what you knew, what Millie had told you, correct?
You're asking if the detective asked me what Millie told me?
Yes.
No.
What did he tell you to write on the statement?
Oh, yeah, yes. He did ask me what... I thought you were talking about, like, when they came in and questioned her.
But when you gave your statement on November 24th, did they ask you to tell them what you knew?
Yes, ma'am.
What you had heard from Layla?
Yes,
from
ma'am.
Millie?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had testified here that Millie came back and said, Miss Jennifer killed Layla.
Yes, ma'am.
Now show me, if you would, anywhere in your statement where you said that to the police. You have that beside you?
That's not something that I put in my statement, but that's something I was said.
But that's not something you put in your statement?
No.
And where in the statement does it say anything about Miss Jennifer dragging Layla downstairs?
Before,
Just answer my question first, and then you can explain. Where does it say?
I didn't put that in the statement.
You can certainly explain that.
Before, I'm pretty sure before I was given this statement to make, or a little bit after, that's when she's been telling me stuff like that.
Isn't it true that you wrote your statement, you said, well, when my mom pulled up with Millie and took her out of her car, she ran to me saying, Kaya, Kaya, I have bruises all over my body?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And isn't it true that nowhere in your statement does it have anything about Jennifer telling her to say something?
Yes. Wait, can you please repeat that?
In your statement,
Yes, ma'am.
there's nothing in there that says Jennifer told her to say anything. Is there, let me rephrase it a different way, is there anything in the statement that you wrote that says that Jennifer told her to say something
About what?
about what happened to her, or when people said anything about the bruises? Where in your statement does it say that Miss Jennifer told her to say anything?
She told her not to say.
And you put that in your statement?
I didn't put not to say, but she told her what to say.
Okay, you didn't put that in your statement either, did you?
Yeah, I did.
You said, she also told me that Miss Jennifer
Hit her, but if anybody asked, she just fell down. That's what she told her to say.
Okay, but does it say there that Miss Jennifer said that? Does it say that Miss Jennifer said that? In your
That's,
statement?
I don't get what you're asking.
Okay, in your statement,
Okay.
does it say Jennifer said to say that? Does it say Jennifer said?
I didn't put Jennifer said, but I said, and she told me Miss Jennifer hit her, but if anybody asked, I just fell down. That's what she was told to say.
Okay, but you didn't write that in your statement, did you?
It's right here.
But you didn't write down that that's what she was told to say. Correct? Did you write down that's what she was told to say?
No.
Now, you also told police that Layla had told you that the bruises came from a bear scratching her, correct?
A bear?
Yes, didn't she tell you that?
No.
At no point.
No.
Okay. Now, she also told you Mr. Rosenbaum would not feed Layla and would make her waste her food. That's what you wrote in your statement, isn't it?
I put that Jennifer, she told me that Jennifer fed her more than Layla, and Layla didn't get much food. She also told me that whenever they went out to eat, Jennifer made her waste her food, yes.
And you had also heard that on TV, didn't you?
No.
Did your mother tell you that as well?
No.
And are you aware that Layla was determined to be well nourished? Are you aware of that?
What do you mean?
Are you aware that the doctor said she was well nourished?
No, I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Kaya, you were, what did you say, 11 or 12 when you wrote this statement?
Yes, ma'am.
At this time, I tender State's Exhibit 386 into evidence and ask permission to publish.
You may publish.
Kaya, when you speak, is it different than when you write sometimes? Is your writing a little bit different?
It is.
So, 386 up on the board. Can you read that in its entirety?
Okay. Well, when my mom pulled up with Millie and took her out of her car, she ran to me saying, Kaya, Kaya, I have bruises all over my body, and she showed me a bruise on her right lower hip, and she told me Miss Jennifer hit her, but if anybody asked, I just fell down. She also told me that Miss Jennifer fed her more than Layla, and Layla didn't get much food. She also told me that whenever they went out to eat, Jennifer made her waste her food.
So when you wrote, she told me Miss Mrs. Jennifer hit her, but if anybody asked, I just fell down. What were you conveying in that sentence? What were you saying?
Like, with her, like, if Jennifer hit her, if anybody asked, like, asked Millie, she just fell. Or she was playing or something and she just got a bruise.
And who told Millie to say that she just fell?
Miss Jennifer.
Now, on cross, Ms. Small asked you, didn't you say, or write in your statement, Jennifer didn't feed Layla? Is that anywhere in the statement?
No.
So you answered correctly. Your answer that that's not in the statement is correct. You did write it in your statement.
Can you?
You never wrote the words, Jennifer didn't feed Layla.
Yeah, I never wrote that.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. 10 seconds.
Ms. Lambert, when Miss Millie came the second time to your house, it was after the funeral, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And she had been with her parents and great-grandmother, correct?
I'm not sure.
Thank you.
No further questions.
All right, thank you. You can step down. And any objections to this being excused? Please stay. You're free to go. State will call us next witness.
They call Detective Mellon.
Detective Mellon.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name for the record.
I'm Detective Antonio Mellon.
And if you could spell your first and last name.
First name is Antonio. Excuse me. Last name is Mellon.
Detective, how are you currently employed?
I'm employed at the Henry County Police Department as a detective.
How long have you been employed at the Henry County Police Department?
A little bit more than 12 years, ma'am.
Now, at the Henry County Police Department, are you assigned to a specific unit?
Currently, I'm in the General Crimes Division.
And prior to General Crimes Division, where were you assigned?
I was assigned to the ICAC unit, the Crimes Against Children's Division.
How long were you in the ICAC unit?
Approximately 7 years.
What kind of crimes does the ICAC unit investigate?
We do any crime involving a child, whether child be the victim or child be the subject. So from child molestations to abuses to infant death to fights to cyber illegal postings of nude pictures, anything involving a child.
Now, prior to working with Henry County, where were you employed?
I was employed at the North Miami Police Department in Florida,
And how long did you work there?
approximately 2.5 years.
And how did you become involved in this case?
In reference to this case, I was at the time, Sergeant Thompson was then Detective Thompson. He was my partner. He received an email in reference to one of the victims making an outcry. This was 3 days after Christmas. He asked me if we could go and speak to the child, and we did.
You said Detective now Sergeant Thompson was your partner. Was it customary for you to work in teams?
Yes, it is. With any case, you have a lead detective, then you have other detectives who assist, and anyone in the office will lend a helping hand with any task that needs to be done.
Was there a specific reason why Detective Thompson asked you to go with him to interview Millie?
Yes, ma'am. At that time, he had not yet completed the Finding Words course, which basically is the course that you need to become a forensic interviewer to speak to kids.
And was Finding Words later changed to Child First?
Yes, ma'am. It's currently Child First. It's a 40-hour block, and it was Finding Words prior to that.
And were you trained in Child First or Finding Words?
Yes, ma'am. I did.
And when did you take the course?
I completed my course. My course was April 29th to May 3rd, 2013.
Now, prior to interviewing Millie Place, had you ever interviewed a child?
Yes, ma'am, I've had.
And where did you interview the child?
At the schools, a lot of time we would get referrals from the school counselors, so we would interview the children at the setting where we're called out to. And if possible, we'd schedule something else, if not.
So as a detective, was it customary for you to speak with a child before they had a forensic interview?
Yes, ma'am.
And was it customary to get some sort of disclosure prior to going to a forensic interview?
We try to, and every case is different. If the kid is forthcoming and does make a disclosure, then we continue and we speak. If not, then we schedule the forensic interview at Southern Crescent to be done.
Now, where did the interview of Millie Place take place?
It occurred at Miss Lambert's residence. I do not have the address.
Okay. And why did it happen at Miss Lambert's residence as opposed to Southern Crescent?
It was, the exact reason would have to be with Detective Thompson. It was his case. He received the message. With it being the holidays, we spoke to Millie on December 28th, which was the Monday after Christmas. Christmas was that Friday. So you had Christmas scheduling between the center, the police department. So with the child being a willing participant and was disclosing information, we thought it was a good idea to go and obtain the information while it was fresh and prior to it being tainted.
Now, between the time that you were trained in doing forensic interviews in 2013 and the time that you interviewed Millie Place, had you ever conducted a forensic interview at a child advocacy center?
Actually, yes, I did. I did one.
What? You did?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, at the center where I stepped in and conducted the interview.
And that was video and audio recording?
Yes, ma'am.
How have you stepped in that situation?
The rapport with the interviewer, the child was not opening up, and I went in and I conducted it, and we built the rapport, and the child disclosed to me.
So do you find in cases a child will open up to one person versus another, just feel better with one person?
Yes, ma'am. We have to take several factors into consideration: race, ethnicity, cultures. So it's not a perfect system. You will not get the same answer every time with a child with a person interviewing them. We all have different styles. We speak differently, different tones.
When you spoke with Millie, was she able to give you information about what happened to her at the Rosenbaum's home?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
And did she give you any information about what happened to Layla when she was at the Rosenbaum's home?
She gave some, yes, ma'am.
Approach the witness, Your Honor.
You may.
Detective, I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 387 and see if you recognize it.
Yes, ma'am.
And how do you recognize it?
It has my signature on there.
And what is it?
It's the interview that we did with Millie at Ms. Lambert's house. We recorded it with a Surface tablet.
And why did you sign it?
I reviewed it and to make sure that it was the exact video that was shot that day, ma'am.
And did you put the date that you reviewed it on the disc?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what was the date?
It was 6/11/19, June 11, 2019.
And the State's Exhibit 387 is a fair and accurate copy of that interview with Millie.
Yes, ma'am.
Any changes, deletions, alterations?
No, ma'am.
At this time, I tender State's Exhibit 387 and evidence as requested to publish.
No objection. It's admitted, you may publish.
And maybe turn the lights off.
Say the battery. Easy? Oh, that is cool.
Okay. All right.
And this is my frozen dog.
That is so
I
cute.
also have more toys upstairs.
That's Elsa, right? You have Anna too?
No.
No, you don't have Anna?
Yeah.
Oh, you just don't.
I just didn't get mine.
It's all right. Sometimes, you know, next Christmas, you just have to do good and that stands up.
Does this make you magical when you do the moonwalk, when you wave this? Does it make you magical too?
No.
No? You have very nice stuff. You have great, great gifts.
Very nice. And those fit you? Your slippers?
Yeah.
Can I borrow one then? Why not? Look, that's my tie.
Yeah, your feet are too big.
Yeah, you too big. I don't have little feet.
He can maybe get one toe in there, maybe, I think. I don't know if we get two. Just one toe. He's got a fat toe.
And what did Miss Patricia get? Do you know? Did she get anything good for Christmas?
Yes.
What did she get?
The hugs. You give her Christmas hugs? You didn't give her Christmas hugs?
No. Okay. So you had fun. When did you open your gift? Did you open them on Christmas Eve after midnight after Santa came? Or did you open them in the morning?
I opened them on Christmas.
On Christmas Day? So you did? Yeah, good morning. Sorry, yeah.
And this is mine too.
That's so nice.
I can do them.
You did a good job doing it here.
Do you know the Frozen song? You know it from the song?
But I don't really know every single one.
But you know a lot of it. If it's playing, you can sing along.
Oh, you have a Frozen too? Oh, that's pretty. Wow, very nice. Oh, yeah, she has a little hair in the front. That's cool.
Those are her bangs.
Those are her bangs, yes.
Just like you.
Just like you do, exactly.
Hair looks a lot like yours.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
It's pretty like yours, see?
So it's not. It's what it's not.
Okay.
Well, that's blonde
It's
too.
long.
It's different shades of blonde. What do you get? I'm surprised. What are you doing out so early? Do you always get up this early?
No.
No.
She just told me that she'll work on it.
Oh, okay. Okay, we told Miss Patricia. Oh, okay.
You just came to check up on you to see how you were doing.
I didn't want to
What was that, breakfast? What did you have?
I had sausages and ham.
Oh, we had a big breakfast. You
All I have is oatmeal.
No, I had a banana. You like bananas? Do you like bananas?
Yes.
What about oatmeal? Strawberry.
Strawberries and oatmeal.
No.
You don't have oatmeal?
Yes, I just want strawberry.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I like peach oatmeal.
Me too.
That's good.
That's great. I love peach oatmeal. And so you got a lot of frozen stuff.
Yeah, and I also have more frozen stuff upstairs.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, you have a lot of stuff.
You have a frozen pasta you had for your birthday, didn't you?
I didn't.
I found out. I know a lot of stuff. Yeah, I do.
See, me, I'm not like it, so you're gonna have to help me. How old are you?
What?
You're 4? Oh, wow. When was your birthday? See, he knows your birthday. I don't know. Let me see.
October the 5th.
October the 4th. Oh, right before Halloween.
You know how I remember your birthday? 10-4, good buddy.
So, that's cool.
That's how I remember your birthday. That's a 10-4, like 10-4, good buddy. That's what we say all the time. 10-4, good buddy.
Yeah, that's, he's right about that. So, I have to ask you a question, Miss Millie. You were speaking to Miss Patricia, and what were you telling her about, I think you told her something about when you used to live at the other house? Yes, with Jennifer. What happened there?
She twisted my arm.
She twisted your arm? When did she twist your arm? Did it hurt? Did she do that one time? More than one time? Yeah, more than one time? How many times?
Like 2 or 3 times.
Wow, did you tell her anything when she did that? Did
I
you?
just cried.
You cried? Did she say anything when you started crying? What did she do?
Okay, so when you were playing diaper rack on me, because I didn't wipe good.
Okay. Also because he didn't wipe good? And that's when she twisted your arm? Okay. Did she say anything after that, after you didn't wipe good? Did she show you how to wipe properly? Or
Yeah, but I just didn't get it because I was just 3.
you were just 3? Okay.
But now I'm 4 because I have my birthday. It was at Noah's Ark.
It was at Noah's Ark. Ooh, you had fun?
Yeah, and I saw Noah.
You saw Noah?
Yeah.
Wow. So,
I saw animals.
wow.
I didn't see a giraffe.
Did you see a giraffe?
What animals did you see?
I saw a white tiger.
Wow, I love white tigers.
Wow.
And
Really?
I just saw a regular tiger. I don't see any elephants.
No elephants? Oh, okay, well, we'll see. We'll ask him why they don't have elephants. So when is Jennifer did that to your arm? Did she do it to one arm or both arms? Which arm was that? That's your left arm?
Yeah, but it went away because it was a bruise right here.
It was a bruise? Did she take you to the doctor for the bruise? No.
Was that before your birthday or after your birthday?
After.
After your birthday. Oh,
Okay.
Actually before.
okay. You know how long before? Okay.
I can't remember.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
That's all right.
And you said it happened more than one time? Okay, and the other time there was which arm? The same arm? Okay. And what about, did she only do that to you? Okay.
She squeezed Layla's arm.
She squeezed Layla's arm?
Actually her leg.
Her leg? How and why? How did she squeeze her arm? I mean her leg?
I don't know why.
Did she say anything when she squeezed? Did Layla cry? Did Layla tell her anything?
No, because she couldn't even speak.
She couldn't speak? Why couldn't she speak?
Because she was only 2 years old.
She was only 2 years old? Okay. You're very smart because you're right. You see, if I ever make a mistake, you can correct me, okay? So she was only 2 years old, so she couldn't speak. And she squeezed her leg? And
All she did is cry.
who did that? Layla?
Because she didn't know how to speak.
Okay. And what about Miss Jennifer?
She didn't really tell her anything.
Do you know why she squeezed her leg? Oh, did Layla do anything? Okay.
Only like, so she died.
Who died? Layla died? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Until only 2 years old commission for killed her.
Why do you say that? What happened? Were you there when Layla died?
Well, yeah, I was in the house, but I wasn't by her when she died.
Okay, tell me about that. Tell me, what were you in the house? What were you doing?
I was just playing and I was watching TV.
Where was this? Where were you watching TV? In your room? In the living room? Outside? Where?
You don't even have a TV outside.
I don't know. I have to ask. So, see, you're a smart girl. So, where were you watching TV then?
I was watching TV.
In your room? Okay. Now, is your room upstairs or downstairs? Or some... Okay.
And my room's upstairs and up there.
Okay, and you have a room upstairs here too? That's good. So when you were upstairs watching TV, where was Layla?
She was downstairs eating, and then she choked on her food.
She choked on her food?
Yeah.
Okay, do you remember what Layla was eating?
Yeah.
Did you eat that day too?
Yeah, and I didn't choke, but Layla did because Miss Jennifer,
Oh, it's okay.
Miss Jennifer pushed the food down with a knife.
She pushed the food down with the knife? Did you see that? How do you know she pushed it down with the knife? Okay.
Did you see the news about her?
Yeah. Well, we don't want you to think about the news. All we want you to tell us is what you personally saw or what you personally heard. Okay.
Correct.
You know.
That's going to be, when we speak, like I won't tell you a lie. I won't tell you what I think is happening, okay? And that's going to be what we're going to have, okay? You tell me what you saw. Don't tell me what you think. Yeah, that's fine. And if you make a mistake, if I ask you a question and you don't know, I don't know. The same way, you see, I didn't know that Layla was two and that she couldn't speak.
Yeah, but you knew that.
I did.
And he knows a lot more than I do.
Yes, because you're a little bit literal.
I'm little, okay. Thank you for that. You made my day. So, now, when you were in your room watching TV and Layla was downstairs with Miss Jennifer, did you hear anything? Did you hear?
I heard her that she was like not breathing her sounds, like she wasn't speaking.
Okay.
Did you hear any? What he's asking is, when you were upstairs, did you hear any noises? What noises did you hear?
I heard her crying.
You heard Layla crying? Okay. Was it really loud or really soft? Or how was it?
Layla was crying loud?
Was it for a short time or for a long time? When you heard the crying, who's home? Who's home?
I was, Miss Jennifer was, and Layla was.
Okay. Where was Mr. Joe?
He was at work.
Oh, okay. So she started crying only when Mr. Joe left?
Okay, like when she was in the house, she just started crying.
Okay, that's Layla, right? And what about Miss Jennifer? Did Miss Jennifer say anything when Layla was crying like that?
All she did was cry when she died. I'm like, why are you crying?
Okay, that
I
was.
started crying.
That's fine. You can cry. Everybody cries.
That's your sister, you love her, that's why. Let's be honest with you.
I think everybody was like that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, with, I know you said Miss Jennifer twisted your arm, and you said she twisted Layla's leg.
No, I didn't say she twisted
Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say? You said squeeze?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's smart. You see, I make mistakes. So she squeezed Layla's leg. Did she ever do anything else to you or Layla? No?
Well, some things, but I don't really know what they were.
Like what? Describe them to me again. If you don't know exactly what it is, you can tell me what it was or what it sounded like or felt like. Were they good things, bad things? Like what?
Like she spanked me.
She spanked you? With what? Was it her hand? Was it a belt? Was it something else?
Well,
Okay.
before we go any further, let me let you know something, okay? I don't care what you tell us, you're safe now, you understand that?
Yes, because this place is the very thing.
That's right, and guess what? Me and him are gonna make sure that nothing happens to you, okay? So you can feel free to tell us whatever happened to you, we want to know about it, okay? It's our job to know what happened to you, what happened to Layla, and that way we can make sure that we do the right thing by both of you, okay? So you don't ever have to be afraid to tell us anything. Even if you might be shy about it, you can tell us anything. Yeah. So, having said that, if there's whenever we ask you, you can tell us whatever you know, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. So you were saying she did bad things? Like what?
Like spanking her.
With a dog? Okay. Why did she spank you? Did you do anything? No? What about Layla? Guess what?
She
Layla did stuff? Like what?
like I don't know, but she was like older by one. She
Really?
was coming down the steps.
Okay.
Now, when you say hold her by one arm, was it in the air or was Layla walking down the steps?
It was like it was totally walking.
Okay.
Okay.
So she was making sure that Layla didn't fall? Huh? No? Oh, what do you mean?
I mean, that was when she was getting in trouble.
Oh, so was it slow or fast when she was coming down?
Just
Okay. So she grabbed Layla by one arm, and you said that after she got in trouble, would they be going up the stairs or down the stairs?
down.
Down the stairs? Okay. And then what happened after they got down the stairs? You don't know? You don't know? You don't want to tell me? Oh, you don't have to be shy. That's one thing. Don't be shy at all, okay? Like we said, we're here to make sure everything that we can do for you and for your sister and for any other kid, okay? You don't have to be shy about what you can tell us anything you want.
Would you like somebody to sit with you, that you like Ms. Lambert, or anybody can come sit with you if you're shy? We just want you to tell us, that's all.
Do you
What
want
do
me?
you want? Kaya? Okay.
All right, we'll call
And,
Kyle.
is it okay with your mom that you come sit with her, just so she feels comfortable, she said?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, Kaya's gonna come sit with you, okay?
Sit with you.
We're not here to make you nervous. We're not here to make you uncomfortable. Okay? Hi, Miss Kaya. I'm Detective Mellon.
And I already met you before, Ms. Kaya. Well, Kaya's here, she's gonna be your moral support, she's gonna be the person who supports you while you tell us everything you know.
So you're not uncomfortable anymore, okay? So you can't be shy. You won't be shy. She's here. So we're all ears. You can tell us. I know they're pretty. Go ahead, put them on.
Don't slip the winds. Okay?
All right.
Awesome.
All right. So we have Kaya. Now you have your frozen slippers. Now, I have frozen dog. Yes, you do. So what happened with Layla was at the stairs with Miss Jennifer?
They walked down, and so we have pie because it was at a restaurant. It was little, and like she didn't get it because she didn't know where the potty was, but then she got in trouble for doing it.
Oh, she did potty. She googled on herself. She went stinky on herself, or pee. Okay. She had an accident. Okay.
And that happens.
That happens. Everybody makes mistakes. So she had an accident. She went stinky on herself. So what did Miss Jennifer do?
I mean, she thought that was bad, so she spanked her.
She spanked her. When did she spank her? Okay. Do you know what she used to spank her? Okay, that's fine. Was it hard spank? Did she spank her hard, light? You don't know? Okay. So after she spanked her, what happened?
I don't know.
Okay. So when she spanked her,
Thank you.
when she spanked her, did Layla start crying? Was she crying loud, soft? Okay, that's fine. And what else can you tell me? What else happened? No, I thought you said you were shy.
That you needed your friend to sit with you.
Yeah. No, she's here.
I mean, I don't really know them.
Okay. What about you? I know you said she twisted your arm. You said it was always one that arm. She spanked you. Did anything else? Anything else ever happen with you? Who kicked you? Miss Jennifer kicked you?
She did a lot of bad things to me.
But that's what you have to tell me. That's what I want to know. I'm here to find out all the bad things she did to you. Because, yes, because you know what? It's not right. And that's why we want to find out all the bad things. So tell me, all the bad things that she did to you, and all the bad things, did she ever do any bad things to Layla? Okay, so you want to start with you first? What are all the bad things she did to you? I'm listening. I'm all ears. So you said they were all bad things. You know. Yes, you okay. So how do you know they were bad things if you say you don't know? Alright. So they might not be bad things. What kind of things were they? Can you give me an example of something?
Does it make you sad to think about it? No? I was about to say, if it make you feel sad, you can just tell us later. But, what we like to do is just get whatever you know now. And that way we don't have to talk about it anymore. How's that sound?
Okay. Now, I know you told Miss Kaya that, what did Miss Jennifer do? She just said, I think.
What, you remember what you told Miss Kaya?
His mate.
Huh?
Oh, she what?
She kicked me in my stomach.
She kicked you in your stomach?
Can you stand up and show me how she did that?
I can't even do it.
No, I mean, can you show me, was it with, was it with this? Or was it with a foot? A foot. Okay, so can you tell us where you were when that happened? Were you
It was on me.
Yeah, were you upstairs or downstairs? In your room?
We were getting ready for gymnastics.
Getting ready for gymnastics. And what happened? You were taking too long?
So you were getting ready for gymnastics? And then what happened? Were you getting dressed?
Yeah.
Were you getting dressed by yourself? Or was Jennifer dressing you or somebody else? Okay. So
I know that Jennifer was making me guys.
okay, so Miss Jennifer was dressing you and you were taking too long for gymnastics. So then what happened?
Wasn't making too long.
Okay.
She was just taking me too fast.
She was just taking you too fast. Okay. So did she say anything? Did it hurt?
Yeah.
Okay. What did you do after she kicked you?
Did you cry or?
So, when she kicked you, how many times did she kick you?
Oh, it's okay.
How many times did she kick you? You don't know? What about Layla?
She didn't kick Layla in her stomach at all.
She didn't kick Layla in her stomach at all? Did she kick? But then you said she didn't kick Layla in her stomach at all. Did she kick Layla somewhere else?
She never kicked Layla.
Okay. So you told me about Miss Jennifer twisting it wrong. Told me about Miss Jennifer squeezing Layla's leg, right? And correct me if I'm wrong. You told me about Miss Jennifer kicking you. And Miss Jennifer ever told you that? What about to Layla?
Nope, she didn't Layla.
Okay. And what about Mr.
Sure.
Mr. Joe?
Nothing.
What about Mr. Joe? Did he ever do anything like that to you? What about Layla? What about Mr. Joe? Was he in the house? Where was he the whole time? Okay. What about Miss Jennifer and Mr. Joe? Oh, okay. But Miss Jennifer and Mr. Joe, were they always smiling, happy? You know? I'm sorry? They had a regular one? Regular face? Okay. Now, did you ever make it to gymnastics that day? You guys didn't go to gymnastics?
Do you know why?
No. Did you ever go to gymnastics any other time? You went to gymnastics some other time other than that? Okay.
I went to makeup class.
Oh, so you went to makeup gymnastics class? Or makeup class, like to put on makeup?
Just makeup class.
For gymnastics?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't put on.
See, that's why I have to ask. It said makeup class. I wanted to make sure. So you went to makeup gymnastics class. And what did you do there? Hmm?
I don't know about the faces and sticky.
I don't know. Something probably you were eating that's sticky. Your hands are sticky too. Yeah, it's syrup. Because when I shook your hands were a little sticky. So, how was makeup gymnastics class? Did you have fun there?
Yeah.
What did you do?
Put on makeup every day.
Okay.
She's talking as fast as donuts, man. Don't eat mine though.
No, no, so much for she's away.
She's talking as fast as donuts, but I don't eat mine though. Thank you. Appreciate it. No.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm real here, so I told you. So that's something you know about it, it's not easy. That's something you know about it, so you can tell the friends you want to stuff.
Right.
No.
Right. Yeah.
It's possible.
That's not fair.
Yes.
So did you put them away anything? I hope so, because I hope you didn't just throw them out. Because you know, Miss Patricia's not gonna be happy. You have to keep a clean room.
Yeah, it's just right here.
It's just, yeah, you have to keep a clean room, okay?
Oh, it's in the middle of the floor.
Oh, no, when we're done, you're gonna have to fix it, okay? So, did you keep a clean room at Miss Jennifer's house? And what did Miss Jennifer ever say anything about your room not being clean?
I did pick up his
About what? Oh, okay. Yeah, I have to get on my daughters all the time to clean their room too.
Did they clean it?
Yeah, they do. Because if they don't clean it, then I take away their iPod or they can't watch TV, so they don't want that, so they'll clean it.
I have a boy, he's kind of messy. He's messy. Yeah, my boy is messy. Yeah. Sometimes I have to open the window. Not for my boy.
So how long were you staying with Miss Jennifer, do you know?
Like, she got me in June.
She got you in June? And what about Layla? Did Layla come at the same time too? You don't know? You don't remember, okay. It's okay not to remember.
It looks like it's a storm.
Yeah, it's a snowstorm, it's a blizzard. So what do you remember? Okay.
Well, is there anything that you think you want us to know? Remember we said we're here to see what, everything that happened to you, so we can make sure we're doing our job correctly, okay? Is there anything else that you think we should know about anything that happened to you or anything that happened to your sister that we should know?
You know a lot of things.
I do, but I don't know. You know more than me, believe it or not, because you were there. I wasn't there.
Yes, because you didn't really, I don't know, you didn't really, wait, you know what it was?
I do now.
Okay, that's okay.
I don't know.
It is one fun.
But like I was saying, is there anything else that you think we should know? Is there anything you want to tell me? Now, you said not really? Is it because now I want to ask you this. Is it something you don't want to tell me because you're shy? Okay, so you don't have anything else to talk about. Okay.
I have one question for you. Do you remember where you went to gymnastics? I'm sorry? Do you know the name of the gymnastics place? Do you remember the name of your gymnastics teacher?
Yes.
What was her name?
Coach Natalie.
And then this was, it's this, I have a teacher, like a class teacher.
Uh-huh.
Wow! I just rolled it over and then started doing this.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
So you said you have Coach Natalie and you have a class teacher?
Yeah, that
Okay.
Oh, yeah, daycare? You know what's daycare? Okay, what about your sister? Did she ever go to daycare too? No? Let me ask you, I'm not sure. Did Layla go to gymnastics? Now, when I say go to gymnastics, I know that Mommy or Miss Jennifer might have brought her with you, but did she actually
Do gymnastics?
Yeah.
Yeah, but she broke her leg at gymnastics.
Did you see that or? Okay.
I like gymnastics. What's my teacher?
So how do you know she broke her leg at gymnastics? Did somebody tell you, or if you said you did not see it?
Okay. Well, who told you that? Okay.
Okay.
All right. When you said that somebody squeezed Layla's leg, which leg was it? Was it the same leg or that she broke, or the other leg? The same leg. Okay.
The same like this.
Was it with when she had the cast on, or not with the cast
Not really.
on? Okay.
So Layla had a cast? Oh wow, I did not know that. How many is that? Did she ever have a cast before that one? What about you? Have you ever had a cast? No?
Never.
That's good.
Good.
What color was Layla's cast?
Pink.
She had a pink cap? Ooh.
Like with these sparkles.
Did you get to write on it? Did you put your name? No?
Because Mr. Joe didn't let us.
Ah, why? Did he say something? Okay.
How was Mr. Joe? If you had to describe Mr. Joe, how was he to you? He was good to you? And what about how was he to Layla? Yeah? Did you see Mr. Joe much? Did you see him a lot or no? No?
Now, is there anything you think we need? I didn't finish and you said no.
You said no really fast.
Who are you speaking to back there? 'Cause I don't see you.
That's, I know they have a dog.
No, Kyle was here, but you were waving behind me. Who was behind me? No, I don't care. I thought I saw you waving with somebody behind me.
Yeah, that was Mario.
No, that was Mario? Okay. So, you say Mr. Joe was good? Did Mr. Joe... When you guys got in trouble, did you ever get in trouble? What did you... How was that dealt with? Did you get When you got in trouble, what did they do? You don't know. Do you get in trouble here? Yeah. That's good.
Whenever you did get in trouble, whenever you did get in trouble with when you were living with Mr. Joe and Miss Jennifer, can you hear me? Whenever you did get in trouble with Mr. Joe or Miss Jennifer, whenever you did get in trouble with Mr. Joe or Miss Jennifer, who would punish you? Both of them or one of them?
Millie, come here. We have to sit down for a second. You remember what we said. You're not going to get in trouble. We just want to know the answer. And as soon as we're finished, we'll be out of here. Okay? So, when you got in trouble, who punished you? When you were at Mr. Joe and Miss Jennifer's house? You don't know?
Has anybody ever told you to say things whenever you got in trouble? Okay. I did. I wrote your name so I can remember who else that was coming to talk to you today. So that's no, but I had to put it down because that's who I spoke to today. Yes, that's fine.
You're very smart. You're very smart. You were able to see your name from there. That's pretty cool.
Okay. Well, can you do this for us? Will you promise me that if you remember anything that you will tell Mrs. Lambert or Kaya, somebody that you trust in the house, if you remember anything that you think that we should know? No, I said if you remember. Will you tell them? Okay.
Is there anything we need to know before we leave? Okay. Anything you forgot to tell us? Okay.
Well, we don't want bug you. We don't want to make you tired of talking to us, but you understand, we're just doing our job, okay?
So what are you going to do after?
Put up your Christmas toys. Watch some SpongeBob. I wish I could watch SpongeBob.
Why can't you watch it on there?
Because I have to do my job. And SpongeBob is not part of my job today. Well, thank you, Miller, for talking to us. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
What is 10-4?
10-4 is basically when we're given an order and we copy and we understand, we answer 10-4. So it's 10-4 means correct.
And is 10-4 also the day of Millie's birthday?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, while you were in the home of Miss Lambert, did anyone tell Millie what to say?
No, ma'am.
Did anyone gesture to her as to what to say?
No, ma'am.
What was going on in the Lambert home while you were there?
Well, it is a home. Miss Lambert did have her daughter there. There was a young man there and another infant. They were in the living room away from us watching television. Sorry.
That's okay. Anything else?
Yes, and once Millie decided that she needed, I guess, somebody to be a comforter for her, that's when Kaya came and sat with her.
Now, when you look at the interview, are you the person on the left side of the interview or the right?
I'm looking at the interview, I'm on the left and Detective Thompson is on the right.
So where was Miss Lambert during the interview?
She was in the family room.
Now, during the course of that interview, was Millie able to distinguish between what she saw with her own eyes versus what another person told her?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
And during that interview, was Millie able to tell you what she saw with her own eyes versus what the defendants told her?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there any time in the interview that Millie corrected you?
Yes, ma'am. I believe twice or 3 times in the interview.
What were those times?
Those were when I made reference to squeezing versus twisting of her sister's leg.
And was there any other time that you remember?
I do believe there was another time. I'm trying to remember exactly what the statement was. It was...
We're looking at the transcript to help assist you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I approach the witness room? I'm going to turn your attention to page 34 of the transcript.
Yes, ma'am. It was when I made the comment of you were taking too long for gymnastics, and she replied, I wasn't taking too long.
Now, was there a time when Kaya said something about, remember when you told me?
Yes, ma'am.
And did Kaya say, remember when you told me she kicked you?
Yes, ma'am.
And did anyone tell Millie to say, in the stomach?
No, ma'am. Once Kaya made that, she began to say that, that's when I believe Detective Thompson stopped, and I asked her where, and she disclosed the stomach.
And was Millie able to describe to you where on her stomach?
Yes, ma'am. That's when we asked her to step away from the table and demonstrate. Unfortunately, she pointed around her belly button area, which was under the table, so it was not captured on the video.
Now, prior to your interview of Millie, what did you know about this case, if anything?
Not much, ma'am. In the sense of, I knew there was a child death, and Detective Thompson was working it, and other detectives were assisting. Even though I was in the unit, I had nothing else to do with the case due to we can't place every detective on one call. We still have to have others to assist and answer other calls, ma'am.
So when you had asked, or when you said, I really didn't know about Layla's cast, or were surprised about the cast, was that because you truly didn't know?
I did not know, ma'am. I had really no background on the case except this was the sibling of the decedent, and that she was disclosing some information. He received an email that Monday morning. That Monday morning we went. It was the Christmas holiday weekend.
And other than you speaking with Millie on December 28th of 2018, do you have any other involvement? I'm sorry, December 28th, 2015. Do you have any other involvement in this case?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Did you instruct Ms. Lambert to tell you if Millie told her any more stuff?
I'm sorry, ma'am?
Did you instruct Ms. Lambert to tell you if Millie told her anything?
No, ma'am, not me. That was Detective Thompson on the video.
Detective Thompson that told Ms. Lambert to let us know.
Correct, to contact us, yes.
And at the beginning of the interview, there was a female in there. We couldn't see who it was, but we could hear the voice.
Correct.
Who was that was inside for the first?
That was Miss Lambert.
Ms. Lambert. So this was not a conventional forensic interview, was it?
No, but there's not a perfect forensic interview.
Not a perfect one, but the ones that they do at the Crescent Center are very focused, aren't they?
The ones that they do I'm sorry, ma'am, could you repeat the question?
The Child Advocacy Center.
Okay.
Those are more focused, aren't they? The child is there by herself.
Yes, the child is there by herself at
She
that.
doesn't have any help talking,
No, ma'am.
and she's not led. correct, and at the side?
Forensic interviews, we don't lead them, ma'am, and that's the point of the forensic interview itself.
And there's no friend sitting there, is there, in the forensic interview?
At the center, they do not have, they would have the interviewer, and when it's a break, when the interviewer has to take a break, someone else would come in and befriend the child and play with the child and color with them. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, did you see the first
No, ma'am.
forensic interview that
No,
the
ma'am.
child did? Were you aware that she had done a forensic interview on this
No, ma'am.
Are you aware that protocol is you don't interview people's children multiple times about the same subject?
No, ma'am. We are able to do multiple interviews on the same subject, ma'am.
So in your experience, asking a child questions over and over and over again, that is okay?
From our experience per protocol, you can interview a child several times. You can have continuation interviews. As I stated in this particular incident, it was the holiday season. We just received the email, so we went and spoke to the child. Yes, ma'am.
And you're aware that many times if you ask children questions, you ask them the same questions and they answer you, and then you ask them that question again, that they're liable to give you a different answer.
Well, it depends on the child's age and their cognitive ability, ma'am.
And as it's true that you try to avoid that by not...
I'd ask that the detective be allowed to respond fully.
Let her finish his answer.
Correct. As I was saying, it depends on the child and their cognitive ability. If I take a 4-year-old, 2 4-year-olds, same birth date, different upbringing, they will react differently to the same interview, and we might get more out of one than we get out of the other, ma'am.
And that's why it is best not to do multiple interviews in succession, because you're asking the child the same question over and over again until you get the right answer you want, correct?
I cannot say correct on that one, ma'am, because as we stated on this particular incident, it was brought to Detective Thompson that this child was disclosing. So therefore, we went and proceeded and interviewed the child, ma'am.
You are aware that since the date that she did the forensic interview, the first forensic interview, she's been exposed to the biological mother's family? You're aware of that?
I was not aware, ma'am.
You're aware that the family has a lawsuit against defects?
I'm not aware of that, ma'am.
And you are aware that since that date she was exposed to the Lamberts?
Yes, that's where we went to interview her.
And you're aware that she had been exposed to TV news?
From speaking to her, that's when I discovered, I guess, that she had mentioned the news article or the news story, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And anything else?
Just one quick question. Was the reason you went out to do the interview because it was Lily was giving additional information?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now, you never asked Millie whether anybody had told her to say anything that day.
Well, she was asked, ma'am, in the video, I believe Detective Thompson asked her if anybody told her what to say, and she stated no.
So you did ask her.
No, Detective Thompson asked her.
Detective Thompson asked her. And Miss Lambert was in the background, did hear her talking, correct? That was the female that we could hear talking.
She was present during the video. Now, at which point are we speaking of? Because when we were speaking to the child, she was away. When the child went to put the shoes up, that's when Miss Lambert came into the dining room and spoke.
When it first started, she was talking while Millie was talking. Is that Miss Lambert talking? Adult female voice.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And based on your conversation with Ms. Lambert, was it your understanding that the Lamberts were not discussing?
That's correct, ma'am. From what she stated when Millie went to put the shoes, she said that she is not discussing the case. We don't do that in this house, and we're not going to discuss it with a child.
Okay. Thank you, sir. You can step down.
Thank you, sir.
Any objections? Let's be excused. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
State calls next witness.
State calls Ann McCullough.
And McCall. Right up here, please, ma'am.
solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
You have a seat. I'm going to have you state your name and then spell your name on the record.
Can I move this? Anne McCullough, ANNEMCCULLOUGH.
Ms. McCullough, how are you currently employed?
Self-employed as a counselor.
And do you have your own private practice?
I do.
How long have you had that practice?
Since 2013.
And in your private practice, do you see both children and adults?
Yes.
Have you ever worked as a counselor in a school setting?
Yes.
For how many years?
Approximately 7.
And in the school setting, what age group did you counsel?
Elementary.
And are you a licensed counselor?
Yes.
Now, at some point, did you have a client named Millie Banks?
Yes.
And how come you were counseling Millie?
Her great-grandmother was referred to me by one of my colleagues.
And what was the date of your first counseling session with Millie?
September of 20...
Looking at your records, help her folks.
Yes.
Professional.
It's been a while.
May I have first witness?
May.
I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as Exhibit 388. It's a certified copy of your records. If you can, let us know the exact date of the first session.
9/15/16.
And what was the date of your last counseling session with Millie?
March of 2018.
Now, between the first session, September 15, 2016, and March of 2018, how many counseling sessions did you have with Millie?
30.
And in how many of the 30 counseling sessions that you had with Millie did you discuss the death of her sister, Laila Daniel, and her experiences while living with the Rosenbaums?
2.
Now, I want to talk to you about Millie's first counseling session on September 15 of 2016. On that date, did you discuss the death of Layla?
Yes.
And who was present during that session?
Peggy Banks.
And how come she was present?
I needed her to be there for my understanding of the family dynamics and just to watch their interaction and hear from her about her concerns.
And what did you observe regarding the interaction between Miss Peggy Banks and Millie?
There was a bond. Millie physically was close with her great-grandmother. I observed Millie as being headstrong, very bright, capable, strong little girl at such a young age.
Now, on that date of September 15th, who brought up the conversation about Layla's death?
It was actually both. Peggy wanted me to hear about it, and then Millie also.
And on September 15 of 2016, what, if anything, did Millie say about the day that Layla died?
Jennifer had told her to... May I refer?
Yes, if you
Okay.
could refresh your recollection.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she said that... Jennifer told Millie to go upstairs and to stay there. She said that Layla was not talking. They called 911. They knew she was killed, were her exact words. She didn't go downstairs. She knew something was happening. And she also said that Jennifer had spanked Layla.
was Millie's demeanor when she talked about the day of Layla's death?
She was not tearful about it. She was strong, stoic almost, for her age, with no emotion. It was just a matter of fact, this is what happened.
And while Millie was giving you this information, what was Peggy Banks doing?
She would comment from time to time, but I really wanted to hear from the child, so I allowed a little bit of that, but then Millie would correct her if she commented incorrectly.
Now, the statements that you just told us that Millie had said at that September 15 session, was that said all at one time, or was it throughout the session?
Well, the session was at least an hour. I can't remember exactly. I go over time a lot, especially for our initial visit. But it was throughout the session. I had things for her to play with and to interact. She loved the Play-Doh, so we were doing other childlike things as well.
Now, this was the second time you discussed the Rosenbaums with Millie on November 10, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And who was present for that session?
Also, Peggy Banks.
And who initiated the conversation about the Rosenbaums?
I would say that both, actually, because both were engaging in sharing with me.
And what did Millie tell you on November 10 of 2016?
While she was upstairs, she said that she heard Jennifer and Joseph, and her words were to kill Layla.
And what was the context of that statement?
It was a time when I wanted her to focus on what she had experienced firsthand and to gather her thoughts without interruption from Nana at all, Peggy Banks. And she told me that there was fighting. She would hear fighting between Jennifer and Joseph. And
when she's giving you this information, are you talking about just the day of Layla's death or her overall experience of the Rosenbaums?
overall as well as that particular day, yes.
Did she ever tell you what Jennifer and Joseph were fighting about?
Not specifically.
Now, according to Millie, was the fighting a one-time occurrence, or did it happen more than once?
More than once.
Was Millie ever able to tell you how she felt about the fighting?
I learned pretty quickly from her that she had learned a natural response in that she pretty much protected her little heart from things that were painful. She was not processing emotion, I think, appropriately. So she had built up rather a wall and proved herself to be strong.
What else did Millie tell you on November 10th of 2016 about her time at the Rosenbaums?
I asked her at one point to kind of break through that strength that she had. Was she at any time afraid of either Jennifer or Joseph? And she very quickly said no.
What was Millie's demeanor when she said this?
More protective, I feel, of her heart, like they're not going to get to me.
To what Millie is thinking or what her heart is thinking, she can't testify as to that.
The therapist is testifying to what she observed and how she interpreted it as a therapist.
She interpreted it as a therapist. I'm going to allow it.
You can continue.
She also explained that in the same comments, she said that Jennifer kneed her in the stomach. She said that she was not getting dressed fast enough, and that Millie had to dress herself, but that Jennifer would dress Layla because she's the baby.
Now, do you recall any other statements that Millie made regarding the Rosenbaums over your 20 sessions, or 30 sessions, I'm sorry?
She quickly made the statement that they did wrong and we can forgive.
Was there ever a time that Millie expressed to you how she felt about Layla's death?
It affected her, and the diagnosis that I gave her was PTSD, because the child had been through so much trauma, and she was not coping well. She was acting out with Miss Banks, and I could see how their interaction together, it was difficult for Miss Banks to get Millie's attention and have her respond appropriately, as in minding her.
Now, during your other 28 sessions with Millie, what type of things did you discuss or address?
Trying to help her to understand her emotions. She didn't have the vocabulary to explain some of the things that she was feeling, indicating. So we did specific words on anger, mad, alone, feelings associated with being alone. And she responded real well.
Now, during your sessions with Millie, would she correct you if you got something wrong?
Oh, yes,
During your sessions with Millie, would she correct Peggy Banks if she got something wrong?
absolutely.
Was Peggy Banks present for all the sessions with Millie?
For most of them, there were times that I asked her to step out, and I needed to speak with Millie alone so that she could talk about her frustrations living with her Nana.
Was Millie able to tell you when someone told her something versus something that she personally observed?
She had a mind of her own, and she spoke from her own thoughts. And I saw that evident when she would say, Nana, that's not the way it was, or, that's not, it was a different way.
Did Peggy Banks ever bring up any concerns that she had with Millie?
She wouldn't mind. She got real frustrated. Both of them were very frustrated. I think it was difficult for Peggy to reinforce a change in her behavior. And the child, as I said, was under a lot of trauma that she just truly didn't know what to do with. And then it came out in her behavior.
And what kind of behavior are you talking about?
Well, I just briefly and informally observed and shared that with Ms. Banks, that her actions, her behaviors were very much like an ADHD child, hyperactive. And I think that could have been attributed definitely to the trauma that she had experienced, the concentrated trauma that she had experienced over a brief, short time in her life, and it continued. So the impact of that, I think, was definitely the source of that behavior. I observed her in her classroom without her knowledge, and I didn't see any of that indication there, but it was very structured.
Now, was there ever a time where you met with Peggy Banks and Amanda Harrell?
Yes.
And how come you had a session with Amanda and Peggy Banks?
It was for moving forward and the adjustment of Millie moving into Amanda's home and being adopted.
Now, was there a time where your sessions with Millie ended? Like you said, in March of 2018?
Yes.
What was the reason for that?
Millie had made that transition into Amanda's home, and she was doing very well.
Thank you. No further questions.
All All right, thank you, Ms. Andrews. Ross?
Good afternoon, Ms. McCullough. My name is Corinne Wall. I've got a number of questions for you. If you need to look at your records, please let me know. I've got a copy of them, or you can look at your own copy, however you desire. You've got the history about this child from whom?
From Layla or Millie?
Both. The history about, let's start with Millie. The history about Millie, who did you get it from?
Peggy Banks.
And the history about Layla, where did you get it from?
From Peggy as well as Millie.
Now, the first mention of the Rosenbaums was January 10th, 2016, correct?
Do you have that?
Yes. Refresh your recollection?
Yes, if you have it exactly right there. Okay. I don't think that's January. I think that is actually, yes, that is November.
November, so it should be 2 1s instead of 1.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so let me have that back. Thank you. So that was the first time she mentioned the Rosenbaums, November of 2016.
No, the Rosenbaums were mentioned on 9/15/16 at the initial visit.
And what did she tell you on 9/15/16?
That Jennifer told her to go upstairs, that Layla wasn't talking. They called 911. They knew she was killed. She didn't go downstairs. She knew something was happening. Jennifer spanked Layla.
Are you aware that she did go downstairs? Are you aware of that?
No,
She told you she had not been downstairs, correct?
no. She did not say anything about that. She told me that she, at the time she was told to go upstairs, she stayed upstairs. And she chose not to go downstairs because something was happening.
That's what she told you. Mm-hmm. And she also told you that she heard Joseph and Jennifer talking about killing Layla, correct?
At a different,
On a different day. she told you
yes, yes.
that. What did she say that they were saying?
Her words were to kill Layla.
And of course, you are aware that not only was she living with Peggy Banks, but she had been exposed to her biological mother as well. Are you aware of that?
Exposed in,
Spent time with?
yes.
Was around?
Under supervision,
Under
yes.
supervision, but she was there with her mother and her father, correct?
I'm not certain about that.
She told you that a couple weeks before Layla died, she had been told to go upstairs and stay there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a couple weeks before she died, she said that.
Mm-hmm.
Not on the day she died.
That was an additional time she was told to go upstairs.
And she added, at that point, Nana screams at me, correct?
Yes.
And on 1:15, she said that Jennifer spanked and starved Layla, correct?
On January,
Well, dates may be off, I may not be reading your handwriting well, but did she tell you that Jennifer spanked and starved Layla?
those words in my notes were not from Millie.
Okay, but what do those words mean to you? I mean, you use those words, what do they mean to you?
I recorded them in my notes, yes, because Peggy made that remark.
Peggy made that remark, and she made that remark in front of the child, correct?
Yes.
And there was also a problem with Millie Lawton, correct?
We went through a period of addressing that. That was a concern, but it was not with any issue regarding the Rosenbaums. These were issues of not cleaning her room or
Small things.
childlike, yes.
And that was a problem for Peggy Banks. She didn't know if she was telling the truth or not, correct?
Over
Over anything.
I would not say that.
What would you say?
She was concerned about children at that age will pick up that habit. They don't want to do something, so they will make up something else to get them, out of having to brush her teeth or something that a kid at that age is not wanting to do.
And you're aware that lots of times we say that children should not be questioned successively, correct? Because if you ask them the question several times, they give you an answer once or twice, and you still keep asking that question, they're liable to give you an answer that you want to hear. Isn't that true?
I can't say either way on that.
Now, do you know if she was telling the truth about the Rosenbaums?
I felt that she was, yes.
That's your opinion, though. You have nothing to back it up.
Well, my experience with children and my experience with Millie, yes, I feel certain she was telling me the truth.
And you felt that even though her grandmother was sitting in the room with her, correct?
That did not have any bearing on her comments.
You don't know how much her great-grandmother was telling her at home before she came to meetings with you, do you?
I know Millie well enough to know that...
Please answer the question and then you can explain.
Okay.
You do not know what great-grandmother was telling Millie before the meeting with you, do you?
Well, I heard some of the things in session, yes, that I knew she had spoke to Millie previously about.
But the stuff that she may have spoken to that you didn't hear about, you don't know anything about that. You don't know the extent to which great-grandma was telling her things, do you?
Not exactly.
In fact, great-grandma was saying inappropriate things in front of Millie, wasn't she?
I can't recall.
Was it proper for her to be saying to Millie that she has no sisters because they're half-sisters and they are sisters by another mister? Is that appropriate to say to a 4-year-old?
It's a fact, and...
Can you answer the question and then explain? Is it inappropriate to tell a 4-year-old that her half-sisters are not her sisters because they're sisters from another mister?
in this case, I'm not sure that that is inappropriate.
Well, then say yes or no, it's not inappropriate.
Not inappropriate.
Is it appropriate for great-grandma to tell you that she didn't want Millie going to homosexuals, atheists, or Muslims? The relevance is it was raised earlier on by the state. They asked about a so-called lie of Miss Jennifer's that she told Miss Lambert that Miss Peggy had said something about her being black and she didn't want her children with black people. Certainly, this shows that what Miss Jennifer, I think I should approach. Miss Peggy's.
Mine is this.
What does your page 332 look like?
No, that's the client number.
Okay, take a look. At
This one.
Excuse me. Can you look at this and tell me, is there a client number on this one?
If this is a what?
Does it have the client number?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to show you what I want. As the basis.
I did locate that in my notes. Yes, just as you presented to me.
So let me see if you can answer the question. Isn't it true that Miss Peggy Banks told you that she didn't want her child going to Muslims, homosexuals, or atheists.
She did write that in an email addressed to several people.
One of you being one of them, correct?
Yes.
And that's not appropriate, is it?
I can't answer for her.
No, I'm asking for you to answer for you. It's not appropriate to make statements like that, is it?
I mean, I can't call a judgment call on her. That's her own opinion.
But she didn't make that opinion known to you.
She did.
In a separate email, she expressed fear that Millie would go to a non-Christian home. Isn't that correct?
I knew she had that fear, yes.
She also told you that Millie hit herself in the head with a car door and now complains of headaches and has a goose egg, correct?
I don't recall that.
Okay, let's take a look at your records. See if this refreshes your recollection.
It says yesterday as we were leaving, she hit herself in the head with the car door. And now she has a small knot on her forehead and complains of a headache.
So she did say that to you.
Yes.
Now, let's talk a little bit about this line. You've got in your notes, if I may have that back, thank you. You've got in your notes the word prevarication. What does that mean?
On this, within this email?
No, not within this email, within your notes, your records.
I'm sorry, I have, nothing comes to mind.
Okay? Let's take a look at your records. Let me ask you this while I'm looking. Tell us what does prevarication mean? Or prevaricator, what is that?
I think we were being silly, Millie and I. We chose words. We did mix up of words, and I can't remember. I would need to see the page, but we did silly words a lot.
And prevaricator means a liar, doesn't it?
You know, actually, I'm not certain. I can't recall right now.
Okay. We'll leave that alone then, if you can't recall what prevaricator means. Fair to say that Millie admitted you that she lies, right? In July of 2017, she told you she does lie.
Yes.
And Peggy wrote you a note about Millie increasingly lying in March of 2017, didn't she?
March. I don't have that in front of me. Could I see that note, please?
Do you recall her saying that or not? You just need to answer that question for me, if you will.
Yes.
Millie told you that Aunt Kimmy moved away because they fought all the time. Isn't that true?
They, meaning,
Millie and Peggy and Kimmy.
yes.
And Kimmy is Kim Smith, right?
I do not know her.
Okay.
I understood it was Peggy's sister.
Okay, that would be Kim Smith. This, Peggy echoed Millie and said that in fact, Kimberly could not tolerate the fighting and her reaction to it, correct? Her being Peggy's reaction to it.
I don't recall that.
Let's take a look at your records and see if this refreshes your recollection.
The sister couldn't stand Millie's behaviors and Peggy's reaction to those behaviors.
And what was Peggy's reactions to those behaviors? Do you know?
Total frustration.
And how did that frustration manifest itself?
She would sometimes scream at Millie.
And Peggy told you that Millie's behaviors were intolerable and unmanageable. Isn't that true?
Possibly, yes.
We've got to do something, correct?
Yes.
Now, isn't it true that you wrote the word prevaricator down in your notes? And it will show you this if you need to refresh.
I remember scribbling that somewhere. Yes.
So you wrote that.
I believe Peggy brought that up.
Peggy brought up the term prevaricator?
Yes.
Referring to Millie as lying?
Yes.
You wrote in your notes that Nana's influence needs to be watched. What did you mean by that?
Again, I would need to see the context.
See if this refreshes your recollection.
Yes, this was in regard to secrets. I did not say this to Millie, but I was teaching her that sometimes, well, this was secrets, good secrets, bad secrets. And that people that do negative things sometimes do that out of frustration. Example, screaming. And you see that I divided the page, so I'm not sure if it was the negative influence I was commenting about.
Well, let me ask you this, see if this helps. Did you write, Nana's influence needs to be watched?
Well, I'm saying there's a line between that. There's a good side and there's a bad side.
But it transcends both sides, right?
Her influence was good, but then there was another side that was negative.
Let me, if I could.
Yes.
I'm going to mark this as defendant's exhibit 135 and ask you if that is your record.
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, I would tender this into evidence and ask if I could publish it.
Okay. Debate to be published.
Does it say Nana's influence needs to be watched?
It's possible. It's possible that what it intends, the meaning, yes.
Millie tell you anything about Joe? In fact, let me ask you this. Isn't it true that Millie never said anything to you about Joe beating her on the back? Did she?
Joe,
Rosenbaum.
I don't recall that.
She didn't say that, did she?
I don't recall it.
Well, take a look at your notes and see if that helps refresh your recollection. See if you can find anywhere in your notes where it says that Joseph Rosenbaum beat her on the back.
Do you have
I
that?
have an absence of that. It's not in your notes. So I take it that she never told you that Joseph Rosenbaum beat her on the back.
I don't recall that.
You don't recall that, meaning she didn't say that, correct?
Correct.
And she didn't say to you anything about Jennifer Rosenbaum making her eat vomit, did she?
No.
She didn't tell you anything about Jennifer being drunk and slinging children up and down the staircase, did she?
No.
And you had her for 30 sessions? She
Yes.
testified to?
Yes.
Over what period of time?
Give me a moment. September 15, 2016, and March 23rd of 2018.
And she never told you any of those things that I just said, did she?
No.
Can you be direct?
Defense asked you about, I guess, a letter that was written by Peggy Dix.
Mm-hmm.
If you could tell us when, the date of that letter.
July 20th, 2017.
So that was after Layla's death?
Pardon?
That was after Layla's death.
Yes.
And what was the title of that document?
Millie.
The title of the document that was attached to it.
Oh. Oh, the attachment was reasons why Millie Place should be allowed to remain with her great-grandmother in Hampton.
And then was there eventually a time that,
I'll allow you to ask the question.
subsequent to that email, was there a time where Peggy agreed that it would be best for Millie to go with Amanda, to live with Amanda?
Yes.
Now, what was the purpose overall of your sessions with Millie?
Millie was talking a lot about death, inappropriately. She was anxious, very fearful. She was insisting that she sleep in the bed with Peggy, and we addressed those things.
Now, on November 15 of 2016, you testified that Millie said there was a conversation between Jennifer and Joseph, and she said to kill Layla.
Mm-hmm.
Who did Millie say made the statement to kill Layla?
It was my understanding that Joseph said that.
Thank you. No further questions.
Did you write that in your notes?
I need to find that. I've got it in my mind, but I would like to locate it.
Really true, what you have in your notes is reports heard Jennifer Joseph to kill Layla.
Yes.
Did they say it in unison? Do you know?
I do not know.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, ma'am. You can step down. And this witness be excused.
Yes.
Thank you. State calls next to us. State calls Dr. Stephen Messner. Stephen Messner. Right here, please. Okay. Mr. Chase will swear you in.
Okay.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You can take a seat. Please state your true and correct name for the record.
It's Dr. Stephen, that's Stephen, Messner, Messner.
Dr. Messner, how are you currently employed?
I'm a child abuse pediatrician at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta.
And what does it mean to be a child abuse pediatrician?
Sure, so I'm a medical doctor, I'm a pediatrician, and I see children whenever there's a concern of child abuse or neglect.
You said you are with the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Is there a certain department in Children's Healthcare of Atlanta you are associated with?
Yeah, so our center is called the Stephanie V. Blank Center for Safe and Healthy Children, and we're one of the child advocacy centers here in the state of Georgia.
And what campuses do you cover at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta?
Sure, so Children's Healthcare of Atlanta has 3 hospitals. One is called Hughes Spalding, which is downtown by Grady. One is called Scottish Rite, that is up north at the perimeter. And then the third location is at Eggleston, which is right next to Emory Hospital, so it's on the Emory campus.
Dr. Messner, do you happen to know where the Eggleston campus is located in relationship to the Emory Law School?
I do, so it's on the same street. It's on Clifton. So there's Eggleston, then there is Emory, big Emory Hospital, and then there's the Emory Law School.
And what types of patients do you see at the Stephanie V. Blank Center?
Sure, so at the center, which there are 2 outpatient centers where we see children, and that one is at Hughes Spalding, one is at Scottish Rite. And we see children whenever there's a referral for some type of concern of child abuse or neglect. And that's typically, outpatient is typically concerns of child sexual abuse.
Do you also see patients in relation to allegations or suspicions of child physical abuse?
Yes, we do. And we also see children when there's a follow-up needed. So if we do an inpatient consult at one of the hospitals and we have the children come back for a follow-up visit, we'll see them at the center as well.
Can you tell the jury a little bit about your educational background?
Sure. So I went to college at the University of Richmond, and following undergrad, I went to medical school at the Medical College of Virginia. And following that, I did what's called a residency. So after you graduate from medical school, you're a physician, but you're not capable really of seeing patients. So you do what's called a residency, and mine was in pediatrics, and that was a 3-year residency at the University of Florida, and that was down in Gainesville, Florida. And then following that, I stayed on as a faculty member at the University of Florida. I saw children in the adolescent clinic, in general pediatrics, as well as for concerns of child abuse and neglect.
And specifically with child abuse pediatrics, are there other disciplines that you also rely upon, other medical disciplines that you rely upon heavily in child abuse pediatrics?
Yeah, so we interact very closely with the other pediatricians, so the general pediatricians and the hospitalists. Then we work closely with the radiologists, the neuroradiologists, the orthopedics, the geneticists, the ophthalmologists.
And are you board certified?
I am. So I'm board certified in general pediatrics, and I'm also board certified in the field of child abuse pediatrics.
And what does it mean to be board certified?
Yeah, so you fulfilled all the requirements in order to sit for the boards, and that the governing body is the American Board of Pediatrics. And for child abuse pediatrics, there are about 350 or so of us in the U.S. who are board certified in child abuse pediatrics. In order to sit for the board, when I took them, the requirement was for me to be working in the field greater than 50% of my time for over 5 years. Now there's a fellowship, and I was the fellowship director prior to becoming the medical director. So we have a fellowship that trains, it's a 3-year training program
for pediatricians who have completed their pediatric residency in order for them to be able to become board certified in child abuse pediatrics.
Do you have currently, or have you ever had any academic appointments?
Yes, so I have an adjunct appointment at Emory, and I also had an appointment at University of Florida when I was there.
And are you a member of any professional organizations?
I am.
And what are those?
Yeah, so I'm a member of the American Academy of Pediatrics, and I sit on the executive committee for the Council on Child Abuse and Neglect. I'm a member of the American Professional Society on the Abuse of Children, the Helper Society. So those are specific for child abuse pediatrics.
Have you ever presented at conferences, medical conferences in the field of child abuse pediatrics?
Yes, I have.
And do you stay up to date on recent publications and recent publications in your field?
I do, yes.
As a child abuse pediatrician, do you undergo regular continuing education?
I do, yes.
Do you consult with, have you ever been qualified as an expert in a court of law?
Yes, I have.
And have you ever been qualified here in Georgia?
Yes.
All right. Your Honor, at this time I would tender Dr. Messner as an expert in the area of child abuse pediatrics.
He's accepted by the court for that purpose.
Thank you. Dr. Messner, if you could explain to us, is determining the mechanism of how an injury might have occurred part of your training and your experience?
Yes, it is.
Tell us a little bit what you mean by the mechanism of how an injury might have occurred.
Sure. So whenever I'm asked to consult on a case, I like to get the history first. So that's essentially the story about what happened. And then I want to look at the pattern of injury. So looking at either the shape of the injury, the location of the injury, the shape of the fracture, and correlating that to the mechanism that would be present during that history of trauma, if that's the case.
And is there, when doing this, do you rely upon scientific studies and your own experience?
Yes, I do.
What are the types of child abuse?
So there's child physical abuse, which would include a type of physical harm to the child. There's child sexual abuse. There's emotional abuse. There's neglect and medical child abuse, or Munchausen syndrome by proxy. So would be the big categories of child abuse.
And are you familiar with the literature that discusses some of the reasons why people might physically abuse a child?
Yes, I am.
And can you explain to the jury some of the reasons why a person might physically abuse a child?
Sure. The most common reason would be either having frustration with that child and then physically acting out, becoming aggressive with that child and harming them, or having unrealistic expectations of that child, so expecting them to be able to complete tasks that they're not developmentally capable of doing.
Are there any other factors perhaps with the person who's doing the abuse that might affect abuse of a child?
Sure. So if the caregiver is stressed out, if there's been recent changes in the social situation or maybe in the financial situation, those can be risk factors that can cause a caregiver to act out in this way towards a child.
Specifically at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, what is the #1 trauma-related cause of death at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, the patients that are seen in Children's Healthcare of Atlanta?
Sure. So since we started tracking trauma-related causes of death in 2010, it's been, for every year except for one, it has been child abuse. It's been the #1 trauma-related cause of death through the system.
How about last year? What were the numbers last year?
Yeah, last year was the first year that it was over 50% of the trauma-related fatalities were as a result of child abuse. And so that's in relationship to children who present to the hospital with a gunshot wound or motor vehicle crash or after like an ATV accident.
What types of people abuse children?
If there's not a particular mold or a certain type of person who's a child abuser, say any adult is capable of it. So you can't specify a zip code or a characteristic of an individual and say that they're a child abuser.
What about socioeconomic status?
No.
What about having a good job?
No.
Are those people also capable of abusing a child?
Absolutely.
And do you see that in your practice and also in the research?
Yes, I do.
Now, are there certain types of injuries that are highly suspicious for child abuse?
There are, yes.
And I want to focus specifically on 2-year-olds and 4-year-olds. Are
Okay.
there certain types of injuries that are highly suspicious for child abuse in that age range?
There are.
And can you tell us, give us some examples of those?
Sure. So if you look at what we call cutaneous injuries, or injuries that you see on the surface of the body, so bruises or cuts or lacerations, if you see that they're in locations that are not over bony prominences, so if they're in unusual locations, so like over the fleshy part of the cheek or the fleshy part of the arm, the buttocks, if they have a pattern to them, so if you look at them and it's not just like a glob, if you see that it's a loop or that it has a squared off edge to it, has two parallel lines to it. Those are what we call patterned injuries. When you look at places on the body that are unusual to have accidental injuries to them, it's less than 1% of accidental bruises will be on the ears, on the neck, on the buttocks, and the genital area. So if you have injuries in those locations, that would raise your concern and make you more concerned that that's an abusive type injury. And you're always going to want to put these in the context of what is that child capable of doing developmentally? Are they up and walking normally, crawling, or do they have some kind of disability? And then what is the history that was provided to explain that injury that we're seeing?
And again, is there research to support these concerning findings in 2-year-olds and 4-year-olds?
Yes, there is.
Now, I want to talk about the caregivers. Are there certain behaviors by the caregivers that raise concern for physical child abuse?
I'd say there's risk factors. So some of them I mentioned earlier. If there's a caregiver who is very stressed, we see in caregivers who are asked to take care of children who aren't theirs, or suddenly, if they're unrelated to the child, that can be a risk factor. So there can definitely there are risk factors in the adults that can raise the likelihood that there is child abuse that's going to happen, but you can have individuals who have those risk factors and not be abusers, and vice versa. There's those risk factors not there, and they can also be abusers.
I want to talk a little bit about some actions on behalf of the caregivers. Does delay in seeking medical treatment ever cause child abuse pediatricians concern?
Oh, absolutely.
And why is that?
Sure. So if there's an injury that occurs to a child, those children are reliant upon the caregivers to bring them to medical attention. So if there's a delay for some reason, we want to know why that was. Was it that they were unaware of the injury, or was it that they were potentially covering up that injury, hoping that it would heal on its own without anybody looking at that injury? So we definitely want to know what the factors were that went into that delay.
What about a changing history that you're getting from the caregiver? Does that ever cause child abuse pediatricians concern?
Yes, it does. So a changing or evolving history over time. So if one individual if there's a history that's obtained at point A, and it is then discovered down the road that there are additional injuries, or there are other factors that come into play, and then the history changes to kind of account for those additional injuries that were found, or if the caregiver was told that those explanations don't make sense, and then there's another history all of a sudden, that really raises our concern, because typically what we see in accidental histories, so if a caregiver is giving a history that something accidental happened, they give that same history more or less over and over and over, as opposed to if they're trying to make the history match the injuries, then we see that the history will oftentimes change over time, and to who they're speaking to.
What about not following through on medical advice? Is that ever concerning?
Yes, it is.
And let me ask you this. So if hypothetically speaking, if one doctor suggested that a child should be brought to Eggleston Hospital for further evaluation, and the caregiver did not follow through on that, and instead went to a different doctor 3 days later, and did not mention that previous referral to Eggleston, would that cause you concern?
It would.
And why is that?
Because I would want to know, what was that caregiver thinking? They brought the child in for a concern, and the advice of that medical professional was to bring the child to a specific hospital for a specific reason, to see a certain type of doctor. And so if they're not following through on that and then going someplace else, it would give me pause and make me wonder, what is the reason for that?
To be fair, Dr. Messer, though, kids do fall, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
And kids get bumps and bruises, correct?
That's true.
Explain to us, in general, how do kids fall when they fall?
Yeah, typically fall like we do. Typically fall forward, not onto your back. Mostly sustaining injuries to the front of the body. Most toddlers that we see will have injuries, and young children, mostly concentrated below the knee on the front of the legs. So that's typically where we're seeing injuries. Like I said, there are protected areas of the body, particularly ears, neck, genitals, the back of the legs, the buttocks, where it's unusual to get injuries just from falling down.
And we talked a little bit earlier when you said there's no there's no model for what an abuser looks like. Is it common for abusers to hide their abuse?
Oh, yes.
I want to now specifically talk a little bit more about Millie's place in Laila Daniel. Were you consulted on this particular case to look at some of the injuries on these two individuals?
Yes, I was.
I'm first going to show you the photographs associated with Millie's place, okay? Move this back a little, make it a little bit bigger. Yes, if we can get lights. Dr. Messer, first of all, how much are you being paid to be here today?
I'm not.
Let's look at states 328. What are we looking at in states 328? And if you need to, there's a pointer there so you can get down if you'd like and explain to us what we are seeing on 328.
Sure. Will you be able to hear me? I'm up. Okay. So this is Millie. She's laying on her back, and the important findings on this photograph is bruising and the petechiae on the right side of her face, and then this petechiae here on her neck. So these are small broken blood vessels on the right side of her neck.
You mentioned the term petechiae. Can you explain to us what that is and how people get it?
Yeah, so it's blood that is outside of the blood vessel. A bruise is the same thing. It's just the amount of blood that's there. So these are a small collection of blood that's coming out of the small blood vessels, the venules or the capillaries, and what you're seeing are little red dots. Typically, we see this from a high velocity impact. You can also get this from friction, causing trauma to the skin and the underlying tissues, causing that blood to come out.
Your high velocity impact, would that be consistent with, say, slap?
Yes.
Any other abusive type actions that would be consistent with?
Yeah, so if you were struck with an object, a quick strike, so say with a switch or a belt, you could also get petechiae from that as well.
So now that we know what petechiae is, can you explain to us what we're seeing in states 328?
And so the petechiae, the largest collection is right here on the right side of the neck, and that's on one of those locations of the body where we seldom see accidental injury. And then there's also some petechiae here on her face, so in front of the right ear, and then bruising on the right cheek.
Dr. Messner, is there research specifically on how likely it is to get accidental trauma on the neck?
Yes.
And how likely is it for a child at Millie's age to get that kind of injury on her neck from accident?
Yeah, so that fits in one of the categories that's less than 1%, and the neck would even be, I believe it's a little bit less than that, more like less than 0.2%.
So less than 0.2% likelihood that was from an accident?
Correct.
I want to show you what's been entered as states 318. What are we looking at in states 318?
Sure, so this is a photograph of Millie's face, and zoomed in on the right cheek with this ruler here. And you can see the bruising a little bit clearer in this photograph than the prior one. You also see a little bit of bruising and petechiae at the very edge of the earlobe, the right earlobe.
And Judge, just for the record, if I could note, since we do have different sets of pictures, that these are the photographs that were taken on November 17th of 2000. All right. What are we looking at in states 319?
Sure, so this is Millie's right ear. You can see there are two areas of petechiae at the bottom of the right earlobe.
Dr. Messner, that doesn't look like very much. Why is that concerning to you?
It's just that when you look at this in the context of the other injuries, it's concerning because you see that there's nearby bruising on the face, the petechiae on the neck, and I believe in the next, or one of the photographs, on the back of the ear, there's another injury. So it's all in the same location on the body.
What are some of the ways that a person or a child could get a petechiae on the bottom ear like that?
Yeah, so it could be from a slap to the face, causing trauma to the earlobe. Potentially have a forceful pinch or like a kind of a pulling on the earlobe that can cause that type of trauma.
Is it likely to see injuries like this from accident?
No, that would be very unusual.
Stage 322. What are we looking at stage 322?
So this is a clearer picture of the bruising and the petechiae on the earlobe. So it's right at the bottom of the earlobe and sort of on the back of the right earlobe.
And stage 323, I think you alluded to this one already. What are we looking at stage 323?
Right, so this is Millie laying face down on the table, and you can see on the back of her right ear, so this is the same ear that had the bruising at the earlobe, the same side of the body where there's the bruising on the right side of her face. She has this area of bruising, potentially an abrasion, on the back of that right ear.
And what are some of the ways that someone or a child might get that kind of injury on the back of their ear?
Yeah, so again, this is a very protected area, it's all the way in the back of the ear. Get this potentially by grabbing the ear and rubbing the fingernail across the back of the ear. You can also get bruising on the back of the ear from smashing the ear into the skull, and so you're getting trauma to the tissue between the hand and the bony prominence.
And 324, this is just a closer view?
Correct. So this is the injury on the back of the right ear.
I'm going to show you what's been admitted into evidence at stage 367. What are we looking at, or what do you see when you look at stage 367?
Yeah, so this is the child lying on her belly, her abdomen, underwear on. You can see a few, 2 red dots here, which are molluscum, or a viral infection. You can see some bruising on the right lower part of her back, and then the rest of it is covered up by her underwear.
Okay, and so I have a laser pointer at the moment. These dots right here, those are not concerning for child abuse, correct?
That's correct.
Would you prefer the laser pointer, Dr. Messner, or would you prefer that?
Either is fine.
Okay, whichever you prefer. I want to show you states 80. What do you see when you look at states 80?
Sure, so Millie's now in the opposite orientation, so her head is to the right, feet to the left, and her underwear has been pulled down, and this is showing the right side of her body. And you can see that there's a lot of little red dots, which are petechiae. There's also bruising, but within this trauma, you can make out that there's a loop mark right here. It looks like a horseshoe, so it's like a U upside down. There's another loop mark here and here. And you can see there are kind of these, like, make out like lines of, there's a pattern to this. So you have the loop marks, and then these more curvilinear pattern to the bruising, and then the petechiae around it.
So those horseshoe marks, what are things that can cause those horseshoe loops that you see?
Yeah, so that's classic for being struck with a looped over object. So that could either be a belt or a cord, just something that when you bend it over and you cause that loop where it's bent over and then strike the body with it, you get this very characteristic loop-shaped mark. And that's how we describe it, as a loop mark.
And then you also described that you saw stripes. I don't know if that's the right word for it. You saw a definite. How did you see? You said after you talked about the loop marks, you also talked about striping. Tell me what you see about that. I mean, I may be using the wrong word here.
Sure. Well, if you kind of step back and look at the overall pattern here, you can make out that there are these bands or lines of trauma that are coming across the body, in addition to the loop marks.
Now, talk to us about the type of object that would be able to potentially do some kind of injury like this.
Sure. So you're seeing injury both on the side and on the back of the body, so it needs to be a flexible object that can wrap around the body like that. So be like a belt or a cord or a rope, something that can be looped over and then is flexible enough to strike the body and follow the curve of the body from the side to the back.
Would a fall down the stairs cause that?
No.
Fall down a ladder?
No.
How about those kind of wood ladders at a gymnasium where you can kind of climb up on the wall? Would that cause that kind of injury?
No. You would not get a loop mark from any of those scenarios because you need to have something that is looped over.
How about does this, in your opinion, look like it would have anything to do with a seatbelt injury?
No.
Is that even in the realm of possibility?
The seatbelt? No. The location isn't where a seatbelt goes on the body. It will be further up. And again, you wouldn't have a looped over part to the seatbelt.
What if the child was in a car seat? Is there anything that you see on that would even be associated with the child being in a car seat during a motor vehicle accident?
No.
Now, when children fall, if they would fall in this area, where would they generally fall? Like, how would a child fall if they would land on this area?
Well, if they fell on the right side, where you would expect to see the injury would be where the bony prominence is, so in the hip, because you're getting, in order to get the bruise, you're going to need to cause trauma to the tissue, break those blood vessels and get the blood out of the blood vessel. So it's where the bony prominence comes down and it's squishing the tissue, and it's where you compress the tissue enough, and so it's where it comes in contact with the surface. So it's where you have your bony prominence is where you tend to bruise. So like your knees, your hips, your elbows. So in this area it would be over your hip.
Would this injury be consistent with falling off a bicycle?
No, because you have the patterned injury there.
We're looking at 371. Is this just another view of this?
It is, and you can see that this shows the loop mark even clearer here. See those stripes. And this is more, the way this photograph is taken, it's more from the back than the side. So you can see how you have injury in multiple planes of the body. It's both on the back of the body and the side of the body.
I'll show you what's been admitted as State's Exhibit 78. What do you see when we look at State's Exhibit 78?
Yeah, so this is the inner surface of Millie's left arm above the elbow. And you're seeing there's kind of round bruise that's darker in purple, but there's this pink or reddish bruise that has clear, there's a straight line at the top here and does a 90-degree angle.
I'll show you 378 if that aids you anymore.
Yeah, so this is more zoomed in. It may be a little bit more difficult to make it out here, but if you follow across the top here, it's a straight edge, and then you have the bruise extending down here.
And why, if someone was hit with an object, would it be kind of straight edge like that? I guess how do bruises form?
Yeah, so they will take on if you're struck with an object, you're going to damage the tissue from the outline of that object. And so if it has a straight edge to it, or has an angle to it, or if there's a loop to it, you're going to see the damage to the tissue in that pattern. And so that's what we refer to as a pattern injury.
You also looked at photographs related to Laila Daniel, correct?
That's correct.
I'm going to show you what's been admitted as State's Exhibit 3. When you look at State's Exhibit 3, do you see anything that is concerning to you as a child abuse pediatrician?
Absolutely.
And what do you see?
Yeah. So this is a photograph of Layla at the hospital, and right here you can see there's a loop mark, a loop-shaped bruise on the left lower abdomen. There's also bruising on the right lower abdomen. And these are in unusual locations to bruise accidentally through normal play. And then you have the pattern of this bruise. There's also this unusual, what we call hypopigmentation, or just a lightening of the skin that's going across her abdomen. And it's in a somewhat linear pattern here going across the right below her belly button.
I'm going to show you, put on screen State's Exhibit 45. This is just a closer view of the abdominal area.
It is. You can see how this loops around. There's a loop mark here on the left lower abdomen and the bruising on the right lower abdomen.
And regarding that hypopigmented area, hypothetically speaking, if it was not there from birth, and someone observed that area being red about a month prior to the photo being taken, what would that tell you as far as how this injury could have occurred?
Yeah, well, that would indicate to me that it was an injury, that it wasn't a birthmark, since it wasn't there before, and that it evolved in its appearance over time from going from red to being now white. So that would indicate that there was tissue damage on the surface in this entire area, and that sounds pretty typical for a burn, and the evolution of the burn, and now we have the healed burn that's leaving the skin in a lighter appearance.
Just to show you State's 67. When you look at State 67, do you see anything that's concerning?
Yes.
And what are the things that stand out to you?
Sure, so there's a tremendous amount of bruising all over her back. And if you look at her, you can kind of start on the left here. So on the buttocks, we have a line of bruising here. There's kind of these clusters of round bruises that are over her lower back, the left lower back, same sort of thing, these round bruises that are over her spine, and then a larger amount of bruising all over the upper back.
Now, when we're talking about the lower back, what are what are some of the things that bruising could be consistent with?
Yeah, so bruising can be caused from blunt force trauma, meaning that it's not cutting the skin, although there are some areas where there appears to be cuts to the skin. So having kind of patterns here where you have a cluster of round bruises, that's typical for being struck with a fist. So like being punched, where you have the knuckles making these bruises. So that would be what I would say that this is most consistent with.
I'm going to show you state 69, which is another view of the lower abdomen and buttocks, correct?
Correct.
Or let's just say lower back and buttocks. And I think you were talking a little bit about the buttocks earlier. What do you see when you look there?
Sure, so you have this line of bruising, so it's a pattern. Here you have another somewhat linear bruise. And we spoke about these bruises earlier on her lower back. So we talked about the geometric shape of injuries, and this one having a line to it goes along with it being inflicted from an object that has an edge to it.
I'm going to show you states 21. Do you see anything in stage 21 that's concerning to you as a child abuse pediatrician?
Yes.
And what do you see?
You're seeing all of this injury along the edge of her left ear. And appears to have a little bit of healing going on, but primarily the skin is removed. It's like approximately 50% of the edge of the ear.
And again, is this something that you would expect to see through accident?
Well, if there was, an accidental history provided for it, such as being burned, like a curling iron or something like that, I could see that. That would really be the only way I could see that happening accidentally.
If that history wasn't provided, you'd have concerns, correct?
Absolutely, and I'd want to know whether or not she was being treated for it, if she was brought to medical care for it, if there was any kind of antibiotic might be being put on it.
Are you familiar with the term constellation of injuries?
Yes.
And what does that mean?
Yeah, so we need to look at the entire individual and look at all of the findings that we have instead of isolating just one particular finding.
So even if someone presented, hypothetically, if someone presented and they said that the child was burned with the curling iron, would the other injuries that you saw still cause you concern?
Oh, absolutely.
Did you notice anything about her hair?
Yes, and similar to her sister, and we talk about the patterns of injuries and constellation of injuries, we also had injury to the sister's ear, so Millie's ear, like this one on the back of her ear. And I failed to mention it on the photograph of Millie, but just like Layla, you have this really thinned out hair here on the side, which is drastically different than the surrounding hair. You can see a lot of the scalp.
And I'll show you Millie's photo in stage 323. Do you see anything? Do you see what you wanted to explain to the jury?
Correct. So this was the ear injury that we saw on Millie earlier. But this entire area of hair here, it's irregular edges to it. There's some hair in the center, but it's not as dense as the hair that's around it. And there's a similar finding that we saw on Layla.
Is the fact that it appears to be on both girls, is that concerning to you?
Yes.
And why is that?
Yeah, because this has the appearance of hair that's been pulled out, and that we're seeing it in both girls makes me concerned that this was inflicted to them. They both had their hair pulled.
Going back to Layla, I want to show you states 22. What do you see in states 22?
And so this is her left ear, and I believe it projects very well, but there's actually bruising deep down inside her ear. So it's another very protected area, but there's evidence of trauma there.
I want to show you what's been admitted as states 32. What do you see in states 32?
So to orient you, her head is up here on the upper left. This is her left arm, left axilla or armpit. This is her left nipple. You're seeing bruising across the left chest that extends down into the armpit, into the axilla. And then there's another bruise here that has a loop shape to it that's on the left upper chest. It goes around like that, like a candy cane.
And is that concerning for you, seeing that?
Absolutely.
You also mentioned it goes down into the armpit. Is that concerning for you?
It is, because it's a pretty protected part of the body. You have this bruise that extends from the front of the body and then wraps around into the side of the body, into the armpit.
Stage 33 is another view of that same part of the body.
It is. This is the axillary armpit right here, and here's the bruising.
Stage 27, what are we looking at in stage 27?
So here you can see Layla's left ear. You can see the injury here on the back of the ear, on the edge of the ear. This is some medical equipment. And you're seeing all of this bruising that's on her neck, her upper chest, and on her back. So you have multiple planes. So if you put a flat object on the body, the areas that come in contact with it, they can't, if you put like one sheet of paper, it wouldn't contact all of these different injured areas at once. You'd have to move it. So that's what I mean by multiple planes of the body being affected.
Now, can you get bruising from CPR?
Yes, you can.
Where would you expect to see the bruising from CPR?
Yeah, it's where you're doing the compressions, which would be over the middle of the chest or the sternum.
And in stage 3, do you see any evidence of bruising in the chest area, in the center chest area?
No.
What are we looking at in stage 51?
So this is the pull-up here. So this is buttocks, feet to the right, head to the left. And you're seeing this loop-shaped bruise here on the right side of the hip. The hip is around here, so it's kind of more on the lower abdomen on the right side.
What are we looking at what do you see when we look at stage 52?
So this is, talked about this loop mark earlier, this bruise earlier. Now the diaper is off, or the pull-up. You can see that there's actually bruising in the genital area, and you can see that there's bruising down here on the right inner thigh. You see all this bruising here, in what we call the mons, suprapubic area, and then it actually comes down here, there's bruising on the right labia majora.
And is this a closer view of that area of the body?
It is. So this is the right labia majora. You can see there's bruising here. There's a little bit of possibly an abrasion there. And then this bruising here on the right inner upper thigh.
Show you stage 54. What are we looking at in stage 54?
So these are close-ups of that right inner upper thigh. So this is her genitalia here, so the labia majora. You can see that there is a squared off red bruise here. It's distorted a bit by the glove kind of pulling the skin up. You can see that this has a 90-degree angle to it. There's straight edges to it. And then there's another one right here below it. And then there's some white or hypopigmentation of the skin that is below this injury. So you have these two squared off bruises and then the hypopigmentation.
And then stage 56.
I think that's a little out of focus. But these are those two bruises that we just looked at. And you can see down here that this hypopigmentation has that same pattern to it. There's a L shape to it. And these are all on the right upper inner thigh. And this is extending more onto the back of the body, so the back of the leg.
And Dr. Messner, when we were going through the photos, there were other photos of smaller bruises that you saw on Layla, correct?
That's correct.
Now, were those bruises in and of themselves concerning for you?
No.
How about in the constellation of everything? Can things become more concerning?
They can. And when you look at all of the overall picture is of physical abuse. There were some injuries that appear to be from normal play. So there's a combination of both.
Okay. Some of the injuries that we, to be fair, some of the injuries on Layla may come from normal child's play, correct?
That's correct.
Are you familiar? You can sit down, like. Are you familiar with CPR?
I am.
Are you familiar with the hypopigmentation?
Yes.
Are any of the injuries that we've gone over here today consistent with resuscitative methods from the CPR?
No, they're not.
Are any of the injuries that we've seen here today consistent with resuscitative methods from the hypopigmentation?
No.
Now, what if someone was doing it incorrectly? Does anything seem to indicate doing it incorrectly? Would that account for any of the injuries that we've seen here today?
No.
Doctor, in your opinion, do the photographs that we've seen here today of Millie and Layla, do they appear to show clear signs of physical child abuse?
Yes, they do.
Nothing further.
Thank you. Across. Yes.
Mr. I have a few questions for you. My name is Corinne Moore, and if I say anything that's not loud enough or I'm not clear, if you please let me know.
Okay, I will.
You are salaried from Eggleston or Stephanie Blank Center?
No, I get paid by Children's Healthcare of Atlanta.
Okay. And you get paid for them for being here or for being at the hospital, correct? You receive your salary nonetheless?
Correct. I'm salaried, yes.
So today you are being paid. Now, isn't it true that you testify in lots of trials?
That's correct.
And you testify mostly for the prosecution, isn't that?
Mostly, yes, because that's who the majority of the cases, the requests come from, yes.
How many trials have you testified in where you testified for the defense?
Every time that I've been asked by the defense, which has been about 3 times.
And how many times have you testified for the prosecution?
Over 150 times.
Closer to 200 or closer to 250?
No, 150, I'd say.
150, the same. You can't tell us what caused these injuries, can you?
The specific object, no, but I can tell you the type of object.
What type of object makes these 90-degree angles?
Sure, so that would be from an object that has a 90-degree angle to it. I'd say that it's most likely the belt buckle. When you look at the surrounding injuries, the loop marks around there, what folks typically will use when they're as implements when they're abusing children and striking them, it's typically things that are nearby. So either their hands, belts, cords, ropes. So for that reason, I would say it's most likely the squared off injuries were inflicted. It's more than likely from the buckle of a belt.
Now, the buckle of the belt is usually circular, and these are linear, aren't they?
The belt buckle I'm wearing right now is actually a square or a rectangle.
Where is the tongue of the belt in this drawing? Where is the tongue of the belt?
So in
The tongue, the little metal object that's inside the buckle.
Sure. So if you look at this one, you can make out that there is a square here and this little protrusion here. I would say that that's most consistent with it.
Isn't this, though, a little, you're saying this one right here,
I'm sorry, I can't see.
this right there?
Correct.
Now, that's not the size of a belt buckle kind that crosses over and sets in here, is it? That's awfully small.
No, so what I would say, so when an object strikes into a body which is not flat, and if the object is not flat, like if you look at my belt buckle, take it off. It's not all flat, right? So it's a rectangle to it, and then you have the tine or whatever this piece is called is not flat either. And so when it strikes in, you're going to wind up getting where the maximum impact is. That's going to cause the most injury. And so I don't know where the photograph went, but if you looked at that, you could see that there appears to be, now it's oriented the other way. I think if you kind of look at my belt buckle in this, you can kind of see the similarities in so the pattern of it is that you have this rectangle, and then you have this additional injury that is parallel to the edges of the overall pattern, which fits the belt buckle and the tine in the center. And you're seeing that pattern repeated twice here.
Isn't it true that this is a triangle? Isn't that correct?
No, well, I would say this protrudes up. What you're seeing, there's more tissue that's damaged here. You can see that this is a darker red than the surrounding tissue, and you're kind of losing this corner here. So it's how it was impacted by the object that's causing this pattern. But if you step back and look at the overall pattern, you're seeing parallel, 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 and then this is perpendicular, but these two are parallel.
Now, which of these injuries, if any, caused the death of the child? Do you know?
Of the cutaneous injuries? I don't believe it was any of the cutaneous injuries.
Thank you.
No. All right, thank you, Doctor. You can step down and maybe excused. Yeah. Can you be excused? Oh, thank you. You're excused. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's where we're going to break for this week. Thank you for all of your time and all of your attention over the course of this week. We really appreciate you making this reduction. We'll see you on Monday morning at 9 o'clock. Yes, Pastor.